Hey YouTubers, what's going on? Every once in a while you have profound moments of clarity, and it's hard to explain. Uh, it's just hard to quantify, right? In your spiritual journey, all of you are going through a spiritual journey. There is no other such thing, right? It's all spiritual. It's all wondering what the hell's going on and why and how you fit in and all this stuff, right? I mean, that's all the spiritual journey is. Anyway, so Jacob's Ladder. What is Jacob's Ladder? I think I haven't seen the Serpent and the Rainbow in years. I have the Sacred Journey card looking at me in the face here. It's like the last time I did a YouTube video, we got this card. We're going to put that back in the deck, and we'll see what we get today. Anyway, Serpent and the Rainbow is about that guy. There's a drug that was administered, and this was based on a true story. There was people actually doing this. They were actually drugging people and burying them, drugging them to where your heart rate gets so low it looks like you're dead, and then you would wake up in a box. This happened to this guy. I should watch that movie again because I think it talks about Jacob's Ladder and his awareness. I think that's the right movie that talks about Jacob's Ladder. What Jacob's Ladder is, right? Jacob's Ladder is an ascension where it's talking about when Jacob has ascended to Israel, right? He created the nation of Israel. His ascension process created the nation of Israel. He was able to bring law and order to that nation so that it could pull itself together to protect itself against its warring neighbors. That's why Israel became so successful, and they honored that law as a holy law for their people. And then they said, well, there's going to be a Messiah to show us the rest of the way. And they didn't recognize Jesus for what he was because they didn't understand that he was teaching the same law, but it's all about the law of the heart. And the law of the heart only follows like two rules, right? To protect itself. And by protecting itself, it's protecting each other. But how does it protect itself? You have to see each of you is the same. So the only way to really protect the organism is to put yourself in a state of surrender to the needs of the organism. If you ever prioritize your needs over the rest of the organism, you are in conflict with your heart. You become in conflict with the rest of the organism, and you're no longer a viable seed for a next generation. What did Jesus do? He became a pure sacrifice. In that way, he was able to heal himself bodily completely by getting rid of all of his own needs so that he could meet any need of the people around him. He became a pure seed, a pure vessel of surrender to channel all that energy and all that healing energy for the community. You have to kill the seed. The pure seed always gets killed. It always becomes sacrificed for the fruit to drop, right? The seed feeds the fruit, and then that first fruit becomes the first fruit of many fruits to follow. That's what created the nation of Israel. But they utilized the law, but they forgot about the compassion aspect, and they did not extend the law of the heart to the people around them. So this is what happened when Moses led him out of Israel, right? Moses saw the burning bush, recognized that within himself, and became the administrator of the law again. So he brought the law back. This is after Jacob became Israel, and after Israel went into bondage. And so but they refused the law when he brought the law down and started worshiping the golden calf, right? Still had attachment to the material reality. Because if you have any attachments whatsoever in three-dimensional space, you are a risk to the rest of the organism, right? You're going to prioritize that need for that thing before you, because it's going to inhibit your ability to meet the needs of the rest of the organism if you have an attachment, any attachment whatsoever. It's simple evolution. That's Jacob's ladder. You're talking about climbing the DNA strand. So that's what happened when Jacob did that, right? He climbed the DNA strand to create an evolutionary event. And I started remembering all this stuff yesterday. It was like this huge download. It's like because all of us, every single one of us, if you're watching this channel, you come from long groups of different soul groups, and the memories of our ancestors are all memories in our DNA system, right? And if you can remember, as you go on your spiritual journey, you put yourself in surrender, you'll start to remember things even things that happened in history of why they happened. It was a specific event, and Abraham was told to kill Jacob because it was a demonic entity, right? It can see that there's a pure seed sitting there that's going to eliminate fear in the region and free people. So it wants it dead. And so another part of the Godhead obviously spared Jacob, right? So Abraham probably, I'm guessing, he was listening to two parts of the Godhead. One part wanted him to kill Jacob, the other part wanted him to spare him because it's an evolutionary event. That was an big evolutionary event that became the nation of Israel. Abraham became the father of many nations because they knew how to treat one another, how to treat each other like family, to surrender to each other's needs within the community and kick out the weeds. You got to kick out the weeds because sometimes people get too needy, right? They can't, they don't productively support one another. So there's always going to be the needy ones, which will be the poor, right? You push them out. Amazing story. And actually, the book of Job, I talked about Job yesterday. Job is actually the same story as Jacob's ladder. He went to war with himself, right? Because you're going to war with aspects of yourself that to conquer yourself. You have to be able to bring the laws of the heart. You cannot set anything above the welfare of somebody else, right? That's why becoming a landlord is so self-destructive, because you're putting your needs in front of the need. You could lie to yourself and say, well, we're helping these people in a way, but you're not, unless you're some kind of lease to own, or you're giving them some kind of out to allow them to own what it is they're living in and let yourself get away. And it's all right to be able to, get something out of a mutual relationship, where they're helping you and you're helping them get a place. There's different scenarios, right? I'm not saying that all landlord situations are terrible, but, sometimes you have to, live under somebody else's roof to help them with what they're doing, right? Maybe they can't do things that you're doing, right? Never look, if you have any attachment in any way to any part of the system, it's going to pull you away from being able to meet the needs of the people around you, right? We're all just meeting each other's needs. So, and if you do that, if you're able to do that on your spiritual journey, you'll climb Jacob's ladder. You'll have a point where you have climbed Jacob's ladder and start to understand it more of what it is, right? It has more to do with surrender and exchanging energy with people and meeting their needs. All you're doing is grounding out fear, right? So I've noticed this, and I talked to the local pastor here, and he understands now. He just went through heart surgery. He's in his late 80s. I think he's 86, 87. Fantastic person. I've known him my whole life, since the time I was about 5. And he's understanding these concepts way more as he's getting older, because as you get close to death, if you get older in age, and a lot of you that are watching this channel probably aren't there yet, but you'll understand this either if you've had a near-death experience or you've had experiences in the past where you've gone through times where you thought, that it was the end. What pulls you through is a state of surrender every single time. You have to surrender and accept what you are given, because as long as you surrender and say, and accept what you're given, generally you'll pull through. And if you have faith that you'll pull through, you will. I mean, he went in and had a valve replaced, and now valve replacements are like a 2-hour surgery. He was in the hospital for a couple hours, and then he was back out. Blood thinners for a year. Make sure he doesn't get any clots. Right? Yeah, something similar happened to Kirk Douglas. Kirk Douglas had a spiritual awakening in his 90s. He had a stroke, and then he lived for like another 25, 30 years. I think he was over 100 when he died. I can't remember if he made it to 110 or not. But anyway, the nation of Israel held the law for so long, but they did not adhere to the rules of the heart when Jesus came, which is why the Pharisees killed everybody, right? The Pharisees and the Romans needed to get rid of these guys because they had figured out Jesus through his own trials and tribulations. I mean, he admittedly said he had the keys of hell and heaven, because in order to have the key to hell, you got to go all the way to the bottom, right? Where you are going to go to the bottom if you can fast for 40 days and 40 nights without eating and drinking water. You're going to go to the bottom. You're going to go through every emotional attachment that there is, right? You will have no attachments. And actually, this ascension process, that this whole organism, you're just a cell within a giant organism, and everything that's going on the outside of that organism is happening within you, right? In order for the body to heal itself, you have to start surrendering to the needs of the body. For example, if you're doing something to yourself that you know is doing you bodily harm, you've got to take time to rest and try to work back into a regular exercise schedule. And, your physical health is very important. You have to take care of your vessel, because that's how you access three-dimensional reality. The more you take care of it, and the more that you create a balance in your life in order to serve yourself and the people around you in equal proportion, you will ascend Jacob's ladder. That is the path. And the whole journey is mostly about grounding out fears of the unknown, right? Because all you're doing is breathing. It's evolution, right? The next seed for the next generation is the one that's, every single one of you are the best of what your dad had to offer your mom. Every single one of you. Because the sperm that made it into the egg was the one that was the least amount of threat to the rest of the organism. That's how it got through the wall. It was in a state of surrender. You got into the Holy of Holies by surrendering and meeting the needs of the egg. If it's fighting against each other, you're not meeting the needs, right? That's why there's always a bunch of sperm in every delivery. There's all these male cells, but the only one that really gets it through the cell wall is the one in the state of surrender, in the Holy of Holies. That's why the hangman card is upside down, because everybody else will see the hangman as upside down, but he's the only enlightened one, or she. That's actually the male seed. The hangman is a male card, because the male is in surrender to the female's needs, because the female always has needs. And that's why, and I haven't even realized, that's why those verses where Paul wrote things like, keep the women out of the church. And it's terrible, right? But we all have masculine and feminine sides. So it doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man. But generally speaking, if you're a woman, you're attuned to the emotional side. If you're a man, you're attuned to the mental side. The mental moves the emotional, right? That's what collapses the field and gets things moving, is the mental. right? Because you're experiencing an emotion that has basic dimension. Women are so in tune with their intuition, they can feel the emotional states of the field around them, and so can and you'll see readers do this online, tarot card readers. You'll see the emotion that they feel gives them a thought form that's being transmitted that are creating that emotion, right? So in a way, as a reader, you're surrendering to the needs of the organism in some ways. Some ways yes, some ways no, because we haven't created the new nation yet. Now we can create it now. All you have to know is the rules. Jacob became Israel because he understood enough of the Godhead bodily to incorporate that into the people around him and say, hey, look, this is how we have to treat each other as holy in order to create stability within our system. You have to create stability within a group in order for that group to thrive, right? And the only way to create stability is you have to learn how to energetically support one another, have compassion for one another, not to judge one another, because judgment always brings sorrow, doubt, death, and kick out the weeds, right? If the weeds aren't growing and if all they're doing is feeding off of you, any control-based system in this reality is a weed. Now, the people within those control-based systems become weeds, but they don't have to be, right? As soon as you give somebody a new place to go, or what's going to happen is that this is going to be taught, right? Everything's going to start to change very quickly. If you guys are watching this video, this is no joke. Everything I'm talking, I started to see the next 6 months, 12 months, 24 months. We're right at the beginning of the last 7 years. It's all talked about in the Bible. Those are actual prophecies that are based in mathematical formulas that happen on every evolutionary cycle. This isn't the only one. This happens every 24,000 years. This process of what we're seeing now has to happen, right? You have to, the old has to be destroyed to make way for the new. And the new is always the thing that's in surrender to the rest of the organism, that is not a threat to the rest of the organism, that is able to meet the needs of the rest of the organism so that it continues to grow. As the parts that have the needs continue to grow, then those parts are able to meet the needs of other parts and even each other, until there is no need, until you become the burning bush, until you start to actually create yourself over and destroy yourself over and over until you're just this self-sufficient holy vessel that needs nothing, like somebody like Jesus, right? And other ascended masters. It's not like he was the only one. Anyway, so the next 7 years, the picture, as soon as people understand this truth, it's just natural state of evolution. You have to be in a state of surrender. If you're putting your needs in front of the people around you and you don't know how to balance yourself with the organism around you, your heart will grow cold. This is what happens when people have too much money. Your heart will grow cold because imagine this is if your communities are breaking down, right? Because the fear rate goes up. That's why communities break down, because neighbors become afraid of their neighbors. And they don't get comfortable talking to one another because they're afraid they're going to take what they got, right? Too many attachments. It's like, I'm all right. Nothing can be taken from me. I'm a child of God, right? Anyway, there'll be pockets where there's no fear for people to go to as a refuge. Because somebody say, look, the only thing that people are just afraid. We know how to work and build a community. And so, that's the project I'm going to start, is to teach people how to just support one another energetically. That's how you do it, that you surrender to each other's needs. We should be taking care of our elderly, right? As a community. not the federal government. The federal government doesn't know how to take care of the elderly, but you energetically will learn how to if you put yourself in service to somebody. Children, you water children. You don't control them, right? You teach them what they want to learn. You surrender yourself to the needs of the community, and you can structure a community to do that. That's totally natural, right? It's groups of 10, 12 groups of 10, 120 people times 120, you get 144,000, right? That's what it is, right? 120 times 120. Yeah, well, that's 14,400. 1 0 off. But the structure's still the same. You have groups of 10 that are organized in a series of 12. We live in a base 12 reality, and that's why. And when you work together in groups, you're clustered together as 10, like perfect government. So that's just how it works. But you don't have any kind of control-based system there. You're just grouping groups of 10 people together like a natural organism, like the capillaries in your body. When you look at your body, parts of your body are grouped together in capillaries that move energy to the rest of the system. But it'll be more crystalline based because we're going through an ascension process. So a crystal doesn't have any kind of hierarchy within the crystal, right? It's just groups of cells that are able to hold and move energy because it's in a crystalline matrix. Independently, they're an insulated thing where they hold a lot of information, but because if you connect them in a crystalline matrix, they move more energy. We're not going to ascend into a crystalline form of being until we can manifest that in the three-dimensional reality, right? You do it internally. It'll be psychics, right? All of it, just a group of psychics together, working together, healing the rest of the organism, meeting the needs of the rest of the organism, energetically, until the old finally falls away. All money, all of that whole system, all capitalism, any kind of ism, government, it's all going to go bye-bye. This is the end. Literally. You guys are witnessing it. It will happen in your lifetime. And each individual climb Jacob's ladder for themselves, right? You'll save yourself. That's what Jesus was teaching, how to save yourself. All you're doing, the only reason you're at war with your heart, right? You're always at war with your heart if you're prioritizing a thing over the needs of a person, because that's what you're directly related to energetically, other people. Your chair, you're not directly energetically related to, right? I mean, space-time makes that, it's still part of you, but not energetically. We're going to have a relationship with a chair unless you've got, a chair fetish. I don't know. I'm just here making a video. So, you're seeing a lot of this happen within the business community. So I just read somebody's project. They're coming up with a new project, right? A group of people coming up with a new project. A lot of times, they're working off of knowledge that you've got. Maybe you've put stuff out there before. I'm not saying that somebody did that, but we're not building another app. We're building a mirror. We're an early stage venture where offline AI, neuroscience, and human presence converge. Our aim is to create reflection-based systems that help individuals become more sovereign, self-aware, and fully alive. We've launched the first prototype node, formed the company, structured the team, and seeded the vision. Prototype node. So what's the prototype node? I don't know. We're now looking for a technical co-creator, help architect early infrastructure, someone who can walk with us the unknown with clarity, intention, and presence. Eventually, you have to get past reflection, though. And they are creating something, right? This full stack developer with experience. What they want is a full stack developer with experience working with local LLMs. Can help us build a lightweight, beautiful desktop interface. Know how to design local data storage and possibly integrate. So this is an interesting idea, but you don't really need tech to help you reflect. Tech is the last thing, right? You really need to uh, learn how to be of service to the people around you, your immediate people around you. And sometimes the best way to be of service is to walk away. But not always. You have to be compassion for and teach, be able to teach and love. And, it's, there's so many people, talking about different things where it's always about, if they're ever trying to sell you on the exterior, ignore what they're saying. Everything comes from the inside. Jacob's ladder is something that you climb internally. That's how he became Israel. Now, I've tried to envision, there are ways that you can, but you have to structure the group so to make sure that nobody's needs are being prioritized above the needs of someone else. And that group will ascend as a living organism if it knows the rules. The biggest thing that the Jews did that was bad, right, is they screwed up by worshiping the golden calf, and that's why Moses got so mad, kicked himself out of the promised land because he got mad. He wasn't compassionate for their blindness. His lack of compassion showed that he was not embodying the Godhead bodily, but he walked the desert with them, helped them figure out that they were always under the shadow of the Almighty, the Mother. That's why they had to go to the desert, right? Because he wasn't embodying that part of the Godhead. He was bringing the law to get them out of Egypt, but he wasn't embodying the feminine to have compassion for their lack of understanding. And so they lived off of a tit in the desert. And then he left before they went to the promised land. And the promised land, all of that story is just an external representation of what's happening internally, right? So, yeah. There is no substitute because you have to be able to take control of your own mind and emotional states, and be able to listen to the needs of the people around you. Because if you can't, you become a threat to the organism. That's why Jesus said what he said. Put yourself in service to your environment. Leave everything else behind you. And you will go through an ascension process that can only be done that way. You can't do it any other way. You have to face your fears and understand what is going on and see this reality for what it is. Yeah. So there will be, as fear ramps up, because you're literally seeing the organism get forced into this state, what I'm talking about. This is why this is the beginning of this period. Because you're going to see, right now, the jail structures and the prisons are getting overrun. And the local authorities, and this is happening in every area, because crime's going up, because people have less and less and less. So there's more people taking other people's stuff. So more security vehicles. Going to Home Depot. Now there's rows of cages across tools and things that were never caged 7 years ago. Before COVID, none of this happened. COVID started it, and then it's just slowly, the fear started to ramp up after COVID. And now, right now, as I'm speaking, U.S. tariffs, right? Fear of the losing control You're in a control-based system, so there always is always going to be fear of losing control, and so they make decisions that makes them lose more control. They are losing control of the system. Tariffs are tearing apart every business that you see out there. I just watched, if you guys watch any YouTube material, watch Gamers Nexus latest video. He goes and interviews PC parts makers, and this is why this is happening for a reason. Everything happens for a reason. It's all orchestrated. There is no chaos in this system. It is a living organism, and it always does the same thing. And it's why the nation of Israel was founded, is that the best seed of the area has to be protected in order to evolve the species. It will always be that way. Now, sometimes species die away, but they're always replaced by something new. I mean, humans, the way we are now, may be replaced. We probably won't be exactly the way we are now after this shift. And it's escalating right now. You're climbing Jacob's ladder, whether you like it or not, because you will have to overcome your own fears to make sure that you stay in service to the. Otherwise, you'll over isolate and you'll kill yourself. You fall into depression. As long as you can continue to meet the needs of the people around you and do it in a balanced state and create material that does the same, then you'll be taken care of, right? The organism can't kill you. You're making sure that it's going to stay alive. And that's the needs of the organism is to ground out fear, stay present, be able to listen to its surroundings, create equal exchanges of energy. Because you're not equal exchanging energy if you're just worried about yesterday, worried about what you were, which is an illusion, or if you're worried about what's going to happen tomorrow, because why would we want to know what happens tomorrow, right? That's why you water your children so that they can create something new. If you try to control what they're going to create, then what are you doing? Right? You're maintaining the structure, the symmetry of the flowering process. And if you're not maintaining the structure of the flowering process for the organism to grow, you become a threat to the organism and you will die off. Your heart dies, right? The heart's where everything comes from. You can reach immortality in this lifetime if you just follow your heart, because your heart will force you into Jacob's ladder. Has to. If you have attachments to the exterior, your heart will die because it'll put you in conflict with other people. Because there's needs out there. I mean, there's kids who don't have enough to eat in places because people have prioritized their own needs, sexual needs, and have children outside of wedlock and leave them on the streets because they have no way of taking care of them. But they won't stop having sex, right? There are places that are doing that actively. If you're out there and you can't take care of yourself and you're having unprotected sex, or you're not meeting the needs of the organism, right? I mean, this is a part of the Godhead talking to you. If you're listening to this video, yeah. So, it's all spiritual battle, right? You have to heal yourself and be able to take care of the people around you and be able to call judgment and say, look, you're not actively thinking negatively about any one person. You're just calling for judgment in your own life. It's like, look, this needs, to be taken care of. And be vocal and not be afraid to speak up for yourself. Especially with people you love and you care about, especially if they're taking advantage of you. Say, hey, look, my needs aren't being met, and this is how they're not being met. You're not helping me do that. It's different with the elderly and children, right? But when it comes to adults, people, over the age of 18 years old or 16 years old, I mean, if you got a 17-year-old, they should be an active participant in society, right? You have to embody the Godhead. right? Have compassion, but still have rules. And those rules are the rules of the heart. That I will love you no matter what you choose. But I have to isolate myself if you become a weed, so that you grow. Because if you don't do that for somebody, then you enable them to keep feeding off of you until both of you die. That's what you have seen in the past. If you're working for a business and they're prioritizing their needs over yours, you're enabling somebody to kill themselves, and they're killing you. That's a rough thing to understand, but that's the truth, right? Both of you are a threat to the organism. You both kill yourselves. Your heart will give up, because you won't have faith in yourself enough to believe that you can do something on your own, and neither will the other one, right? You don't believe that you can become sovereign in and of yourself. It's a dichotomy. You become sovereign understanding the fact that you have to create equal exchanges of energy with the people around you and heal them from the inside out. It's got nothing to do with money. Money was created because people were imbalanced internally. And they couldn't stop worshiping the golden calf, right? They couldn't keep that. They didn't enter the promised land for that reason. They put themselves in the desert for 40 years. Same thing happened with Willy Wonka the Chocolate Factory. That's why I love that movie, right? Right when Augustus Gloop, you're just overindulging. You fall out of balance. So, love you guys. I got work to do outside. I wanted to make this video this morning, so let's pull a card. See what you guys need to hear. I don't know the direction this channel is going to go. I will never stop doing this channel. You guys will see probably things on this channel that you thought you'd never see before. I don't know. And it's going to be you guys, not going to be me. Cosmic connection. Right? This is a cosmic connection. This is got nothing to do with me or any one person. This is a ascension process. People are talking about it, and they're vocalizing it in different ways, right? And they're explaining things differently. And if you can pick up all the pieces and understand what's going on, it is exactly what I said it is, right? It's an energetic tick up. And if you feel like you have a need, give me a call. You can access my email through the website or through this channel. All you gotta do is click on the link. There's a way. You'll figure out how to get a hold of me. My email is at the bottom. bcurtis@bcurtis.org. If you have a need, I'm more than happy to help you. Or some advice, or maybe an energetic reading if you want to kind of figure out where it feels like you're at and what you're doing and what's best for you. Obviously, you need to do that for yourself, and by putting yourself in service to your environment, you'll do that a lot better for yourself, and you'll understand. And that's why, for me personally, I've stayed away from that stuff, because all of that is a very personal journey. And if I try to take on too many other burdens, then I'm not doing my job, right? All you have to do is teach the way and the path, because that will get all of us to the same spot. It's all about energy and understanding yourself, and managing and understanding that you are the ruler of your own thoughts and emotional states. And doubt and fear are always going to creep in until you get to a place where you can finally climb Jacob's ladder, right? That's your own ascension process. You cease to be the person that you used to be. And that's not the end. That's just the beginning of something else. Right? Yeah. Love you guys. Have a beautiful day. and I'll catch you on the next one.